Ever get that feeling, when you've been away, like on a trip, and coming back home is just weird?
It's the same place, but you've changed.
Exactly. Well, imagine that feeling, but 1,000 times stronger. That's what we're diving into today.
Our subject is Manjiro, this Japanese fisherman who spent years in America.
We're looking at this chapter from Between Two Worlds, right? About his journey back to Japan.
It's about so much more than just going home, though.
Right. It's like this whole internal thing.
Exactly. And we've got excerpts from this historical fiction novel, plus these really insightful discussion questions.
They really make you think. Okay, so picture this. Manjiro's caught in this crazy storm at sea.
Rowing like mad towards Japan.
With his two companions, trying to make it back. Yeah. Talk about a dramatic way to start the story.
It really grabs your attention, that's for sure.
It does. And that feeling of urgency, fighting against the elements, it's like a metaphor.
For what Manjiro's going through on the inside.
Yes. Because it's not like he's just getting back from a vacation or something. This is different.
He's been living and breathing American culture, and now he's heading straight back.
Into the unknown. Who knows what awaits him?
That's exactly it. It's that between two worlds feeling that the chapter title talks about.
And the storm really brings it to life, don't you think?
Absolutely. You see Manjiro fighting to get home, but there's also this sense of apprehension.
Like, what does home even mean to him now after all this time?
Right.
Especially because his companions are like total opposites. You got Manjiro, totally focused on reaching Japan.
And then there's Goemon.
Ugh, Goemon. Seriously, this guy would complain if you handed him a winning lottery ticket.
His negativity is really striking, isn't it? It makes you stop and think.
Like, why is he so resistant to going back? Is he just unhappy with everything? Japan? America, the whole...
It's more than just seasickness, that's for sure.
That's what I love about those discussion questions, by the way.
They make you think about things you wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
Like, one of the questions asks why Goemon's so against returning to Japan.
It makes you realize there's something deeper going on there, right?
Totally. Like, he's holding on to this perfect image of the past.
To this Japan that might not even exist anymore, you know?
That's like when you hear older people talking about the good old days.
No, you're like, really? Because it didn't sound that great.
Exactly. Like, things weren't always perfect back then. But it's easy to romanticize the past.
It seems like Goemon's kind of stuck in that trap.
Which, let's be honest, we've all been there at some point.
We all get nostalgic sometimes.
Totally. But while Goemon's looking backward, Manjiro's trying to figure out how his experiences have changed him.
He's not just going back to the same old life.
And this is where that letter he writes to Captain Whitfield is so powerful.
Yes. Right before leaving America.
He calls Captain Whitfield my best friend on the earth.
That one line is huge. It changes everything.
It really does. And it adds this whole other layer of complexity to him going home.
It makes his homecoming so much more complicated.
Because now he's trying to fit back into this society.
That hasn't changed like he has.
Right. Like they don't get it, what he's been through.
And it's no wonder he's so conflicted.
It's like having two homes in your heart.
But not feeling like you truly belong in either one.
Exactly. And, that's something a lot of people deal with these days.
Especially with how globalized the world has become.
It's true. But anyway, back to the story. In the middle of all this emotional turmoil,
Manjiro and his companions finally reached Japan.
They finally made it. You think they'd get a moment of peace.
But no.
Instead, they find
and waiting for them.
who are there to arrest them.
Talk about a letdown.
Seriously. It's like the universe just likes messing with him.
But beyond the drama of it all,
it's a reminder that his journey is far from over.
One of the discussion questions asks what this ending tells us about the challenges ahead for Manjiro.
And it's a good question. I mean, the guy risks his life to return home.
And this is how they welcome him back.
Exactly. It just doesn't seem right.
Well, it highlights the historical context of Japan during that time.
Because it was a very different world back then.
Leaving Japan was practically unheard of.
Really?
Yeah. And returning after spending time with foreigners.
That was seen as dangerous.
People saw it as a threat.
Wow. So Manjiro is dealing with his own feelings of not belonging.
And now he's facing external threats on top of that.
From his own country.
He's gone from being a castaway to potentially a prisoner.
All in his own country.
It's this conflict between Manjiro's personal growth
and Japan's very strict social rules
that creates such a compelling story.
It makes you think about how our own ideas of home can be challenged.
When we encounter different cultures and societies.
Especially ones that aren't very accepting of change.
Or differences in general.
It's true. It's like he represents progress and change, But those things aren't always easy for people to accept
That's it. And that's what makes his story relatable, even though it takes place so long ago.
because it makes you think about the challenges that people face today.
Immigrants, refugees, anyone who feels like an outsider.
It's like they've changed, but the world hasn't caught up yet.
Exactly. And Manjiro's dealing with that on a personal level, but also on a societal level.
It's like that saying, you can't go home again.
But for him, it's not that home has changed so much as he has changed.
And now he has to figure out where he fits in.
That's such an interesting conflict, isn't it?
It really is. And it makes you wonder, what even is home?
Is it a place, a feeling, a memory?
Maybe it's all of those things. It's amazing how this deep dive started with a guy coming home from sea.
And now we're talking about identity, belonging, cultural differences.
It's pretty deep stuff.
It goes to show how powerful stories can be.
They hold up a mirror to our own lives, even if our experiences are totally different.
And they make us ask important questions about ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. So after this deep dive into Manjiro's Between Two Worlds, have your own ideas of home changed at all?
It's something to think about. What does home mean to you?
Great question. We'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.